Hello, hello, everybody. I am here today with my friend and mentor, Ed McBeth. Hey, Ed, thanks for coming on with me today.
I'm about as happy as a mosquito in a news call right now.
Well, you do have some pretty great sayings because you're all about creativity, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Ed, you've written two books with a third one on the go, right? You're a paid speaker and a persuasion coach.
Right?
And you specialize in neuroscience and behavior economics. Did I get that right?
You got it exactly right.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about your passion, which is creativity. And
Perfect.
maybe you can start us off. What got you into that? Why are you so passionate about creativity? I know my reasons, but I'd love to hear yours.
Well, I think I've always thought of myself as creative. And let me tell you a little story. I was reading an article about James Altucher, and he's a guy who's written numerous books. He's done incredible things in his life. He's a multimillionaire now, but his story started when he was got his first job, hated the job, was going nowhere, was getting depressed, was turning to booze and drugs, and then he came up with this one idea, and that was to write down 10 ideas a day. And that's what I'm going to get into today. But with the creativity thing, it's what I found is that it makes me really happy. Whenever I create something, I'm happy. It's a little shot of dopamine or whatever they call it, the feel good chemical in your brain. So I just love to create stuff.
And I mean, you have a history of sales, persuasion techniques. I mean, you have to be creative if you're going to be on your game with any of that. Am I right?
You're exactly right. Um, Creativity makes everything easier. Like if you can come up with the idea and not just be the same old that everybody else is and what everybody else is doing, then you've got a huge advantage.
Absolutely. So, why aren't people? Oh, so let me back up. Creativity, I think, is a muscle that can be developed, okay, in your business, in your personal life, wherever you are. But a lot of people I talk to say, oh, I'm not creative, I'm not good at that. Why do you think most people think that way? Why aren't people thinking that they're creative?
One word, conformity. Now,
Conformity.
conformity. Now, what happens is, you get a kid, and when they're little toddlers, they're as creative as can be. They'll try anything. They'll try and put a knife in a power outlet. They'll do anything. And there was some research done by Harvard University, and what they found is that when a kid reaches 5 years old, that is the peak of creativity. They use 80% of their potential when they're 5 years old. Then by the time that they get to be 12 years old, they're only using 2% of their creativity. And that figure doesn't change as you grow older. So what happens is you're an adult, and most adults are only using 2% of their potential. So what happens is you go to school and that conformity kicks in. There's a right answer, there's a wrong answer. You get the right answer, you pass. If you get the wrong answer, you fail. And that conformity is partially necessary because you've got to get kids to conform, or you got 20 to 30 kids running wild in the classroom. But that conformity goes through our lives, and then we get to our jobs. And it's the same thing there. We're expected to behave a certain way, expected to do certain things. So it kills creativity, unless you're into the arts or music or visual graphics like you. Most people lose touch with their creativity, and they think they just got to do what they got to do to get by. So creativity gets killed. And if you don't use it, you lose it. I mean, you have to find a way to be great.
Well, not only that, but and I totally agree with you. If you don't use it, you lose it, just like a muscle, right? You have to exercise
Exactly.
those muscles. And the way I think about it, I mean, if you're in business, the best way to be competitive is to be more creative in your thinking, that thought process, and I'd love to hear what your favorite technique is to boost creativity today.
I can't tell you that, Brenda, because then I'd have to shoot.
Well, I've been told worse.
Okay. I started out talking about.
First of all, sorry to interrupt you. I want to know from anybody listening if you can hear us okay, if just give us a thumbs up, just to know that the sound is coming in okay, because we've been having a few technical problems with sound and whatnot. Let us know that you're here. And if you have any questions, post them in the comment, and maybe we can get to those at the end, because we would love to hear from you and know that you're listening. Sorry, Ed, go ahead.
Okay. Remember I started out talking about James Altucher and how he's turned his life around? Well, the way he did it was he decided that he was going to come up with 10 ideas every day. So he forced himself to do that. And inside of a couple months, he was flying. Now, he said it was incredibly hard to get started at it. So I heard this and I thought, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try it for a week, first of all, see what happens. So I tried it for a week. And for the first couple of days, I couldn't even get 10 ideas. And I kept thinking to myself, there's got to be a better way. Like, I mean, how do you stimulate the ideas, get the ideas going, other than sitting down at a desk and trying to force yourself into coming up with ideas? Now, I use 2 words that I teach in closing sales. It's what if. And that what if stimulates your thinking. So in sales, if I said, what if you signed on to my program and tried it out for a couple months because blah, 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 how would you feel about that? So I decided I'm going to take this what if and I'm going to use that as a stimulus to come up with ideas. So I'd write what if, and then I'd come up with 10 what ifs. And what it does, it skips past your conscious mind and gets into your subconscious mind, because you start daydreaming and you start going off in weird tangents. And pretty soon you're coming up with ideas. And I'll give you an example. You can use it for everything, not just business. But my son Roland, I wasn't getting to see him, so we would do Zoom meetings. And you know, when you're talking to a 4 or 5-year-old, their attention span is about that big. So he talks for 3-4 minutes and then he runs off and goes to plays. So I thought, okay, how am I going to connect with this kid a little better? So I thought, what if I wrote a book, a kid's book? What if I wrote a book for him? I think you got the image there, Brenda.
Yeah, I can share my screen here. Let me do that right now. Hopefully that's coming through for everybody.
There we go. Okay, so then the next thing was, what am I going to write about? And so I thought, well, I'll just write what ifs. And so it would go into like, what if I was an astronaut? What if I was a scientist? What if I was a bird? And like, then I made little rhymes to go with each one of them. Like, what if I was a bird and I lived in a tree? Would mommy and daddy climb up to come and visit with me? So,
oh, I love that.
It's kind of goofy, but it was just a lot of fun. And that's one way that I use.
And actually, you posted for some ideas way back when, and I kind of had fun trying to come up with my own what ifs.
Yeah, well, you did come up with some, and I used one of them. I know. I remember. But anyway, once this started kicking in, then all of a sudden my ideas were really starting to come, getting easier and easier. So in the second week, when I started using the what if, it was twice as easy. But it still took a while to build up that creative muscle. But then I started finding I'd have ideas. I'd go for a hike, and then all of a sudden, whoa, I got an idea. What if I become a creativity coach? Different ideas like that popped into my mind. Now, I tried this technique, and it worked so well. But after a while, I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I started thinking, well, what if there's a different phrase that I can use? And I came up with, I wonder. So I tried that for a while. And it had roughly similar results, not better, but similar. And so I kept thinking about that for a while, and I thought, okay, what if I wrote, wouldn't it be cool if? So then now that really freed up my imagination. Wouldn't it
Yeah.
be, wouldn't it be wonderful if, and that really helped me a lot. Now, what it really did is it gets you beyond the obvious and the logical. You start doing this, and what happens is that your first ideas are all logical, obvious answers. But you start playing with this, wouldn't it be cooler? And then you start getting into more ideas that are out there. Now, one of the tips that I have is the difference between mild and wild. Like mild ideas are those logical, obvious ones. Wild are the ones that are way out there,
Mhm.
And the more way out there ideas you get, the better off you're going to be. Now, another idea that I had was every winter I go to Mexico. I usually spend a month in Mexico. And I thought, oh man, I'm not going to get to Mexico this year. So I thought, well, what if I could bring the beach to me? And I thought, oh, how would I do that? And that's when I came up with the idea for this beach top table. You got the image for that one?
Yep,
Too,
I do. I do.
okay, so this, I made this out of a picture frame because I was looking for a little box to put it in. I couldn't find it. So what if I got an oak picture frame because around my table is oak, and then I just put a piece of plywood in the bottom, picked up those little trinkets at the dollar store, and made that. And what I found out is everybody that comes over wants to play in the thing. It's like a little Zen garden. They have a little rake. The women who come over and they all want to rake with signs on there. And the men all want to leave me nasty messages in the sand when they go. So that's another example. Give you one more. When my son, he got the job as a solicitor for the city of Red Deer. So, he was coming by my place on his way back towards Calgary. And I was thinking, gee, I better get a card and maybe a bottle of wine or something. And then I thought, wait a minute, what if I make up one of my funky labels and put it on a bottle of wine? You got that image?
I sure do.
Okay.
That's awesome.
He got a big kick out of that one. And he still hasn't even drank the wine because he wants to save it. I said, well, if I'd known you weren't going to drink it, I'd have just put colored water. So that's the kind of things you can start spurring ideas on.
Absolutely. And so you talk a lot about positivity thinking.
Okay, this is my technique. Okay.
Or are we too soon for that?
No. What we're just discussing, this what if, that is the possibility thing. I call it possibility.
Oh, possibility. Okay, I got that wrong then. Possibility thinking. Oh, okay.
So I have other uses for it. I keep playing with it and changing it. It gets better. And I started teaching it to some people, and they're getting incredible results. But they all say the same thing. They all say pretty well, it's hard at the start, but the more you do it, the better it gets.
Yeah.
But you've got to have a little bit of self-discipline. Now, one of the things that I found out is you can't just sit down and write 10 ideas down. It just doesn't work that way. You might sit down and write 2 or 3 or 1 or whatever. So it's a day-long process. I carry a card with me, and then whenever I think of one, I just jot it down on the card and add it to my list. And you just have to make that commitment to yourself that you're going to do it every day. So I always tell people, at least commit to 1 week and then see where you are at the end of the week. Now, what I always tell them to do is record every idea, don't throw them out. And then at the end of the week, go through all your ideas, because sometimes you'll look at one idea and it'll give you another idea.
Mm-hmm.
You start putting 2 ideas together and all of a sudden you got something unique.
That's a great technique. Are there any other uses for this type of thinking, this possibility thinking?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I use this for brainstorming. Well, I call it, positive thinking, not brainstorming, but brainstorming I found doesn't work. And so I applied this technique to it, which take too long to explain here, but using this technique, people come up with ideas like crazy. So you can use it for that. You can use it for problem solving. For instance, I was talking to a guy downtown the other day, and he's told me that he's going to run for alderman. And I said, well, what are your ideas? It seems like the main problem people are concerned about are the homeless people downtown, drug problems, the crime, the harassing people downtown. Nobody wants to go downtown. I said, what are your solutions? He said, well, don't really have any. And so I told him this technique, and he said, well, you show me, you give me some ideas. So I came home, and the next day I used this technique, and I came up with some wacky things like I said, well, what if you go and interview all of those homeless people and get them to give you solutions? Nobody ever talks to them for solutions. Everybody's always telling them what to do.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what to do. So I said, go interview them all. Or not all of them, but go interview a bunch of them and find out their perspective on it. And then it said, well, what if the city hired them? Now, let's say you take these homeless people, you hire them to work for 2-3 hours a day. That's all. And you give them minimum wage, $15 an hour. So they're going to end up with $30 to $45 a day. Now they've got some money in their pocket. So, they don't have to break into a car to get some money to eat or buy a bottle of booze or whatever. They've got some money every day and they work for it. So they got a little more dignity because they're working for it. Then I came up with, what if you gave them a yellow jacket? Like you see those construction workers or security guys.
Oh, a yellow cap.
Well, I was thinking of vest.
Oh, vest. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Yeah. Okay.
Because then what would happen, as far as I could see, is first of all, you'd be able to identify them right away. They look like security people, so people wouldn't be afraid of them, and
respect them.
And respect them, yes, because they're going to say, well, he's working and he's picking up trash or he's helping people out, and that would be their. I said, well, what if part of their job was if they saw some older person carrying groceries, or they'd offer to help them. Well, if somebody comes up to you and they got like a security type with vest on, you'd be glad to get them to help you, and then they feel better. So
yeah,
there's lots of things you can use this for problem solving, coming up with ideas, and not just business. It can be personal, home stuff, relationship stuff. What if George said to you, what if blah blah blah? Came up with some idea,
Yeah, it opens up your mind a little bit for sure. Yeah, that's really interesting. So do you have any other additional tips to help us to become more creative in our thinking?
Yeah, first of all, I say there's mild and wild ideas.
Mild and wild.
Okay, mild ideas are what I was saying before, the logical, obvious ones. Mm-hmm. But your objective is to get to the wild. You want to get to the wild side. So that's tip number one. Deep knowledge. The more you know about the subject, the more ideas you're going to come up with. That's pretty obvious, right? So if you don't have a deep knowledge, you're probably not going to come up with great ideas. So you need to have good knowledge about it. Now here's another one. When you go for a walk, and I'm assuming there's nobody around you, if you're going to come up with ideas, you talk to yourself out loud and use gestures.
Oh, jeez.
So
okay.
What I do is I go down to the park and nobody's around, and then I start talking out loud to myself and using gestures, and then the ideas come.
Have you ever had somebody come up with a straitjacket or?
No, but I had a neighbor say, "Are you losing it?" So yeah, but it works. Next thing is you got to have fun. Seriousness sucks the energy out of creativity. You got to have fun. You got to find ways to have fun. You got to have more fun in your life. you can use this as a technique to say, well, I want to find more ways to have fun in my life. What if, and then dream up a whole
Yeah.
bunch of it. The other thing is you've got to always record your ideas and keep them for at least a week. It's really important that you do this because it gives you something to go back and look at, because so many times you go back and look at what you've written down and it gives you another idea. So you got to record your ideas and collaborate. If you can, if you've got somebody who's of like mind and like spirit to you, share your ideas with them and they'll get them doing it. And if you collaborate, you'll both get more ideas. So there you go.
Absolutely. That is incredible. What do you guys think? Place your comments and let us know what your biggest takeaway. So for me, I mean, I love the what if, wouldn't it be cool if question. Those are small questions that you can ask yourself. And I'm all about small questions. It comes from my Kaizen modality that I teach. So that makes perfect sense to me, Ed. And just to cap off, you know, some of the tips. Mild and wild. Wild is your objective. Deep knowledge, have a deeper knowledge on the subject. You'll be able to produce better ideas. Go talk to yourself. Be free. Use gestures. Who cares? Dance like nobody's watching, right? Have fun. Have fun. That's one of my core values. And if I'm not going to have fun doing it, the answer is no. So always record your ideas. Another great one. And the last one is collaborate. And that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're collaborating and we're working together to bring you guys some unique ideas on how to come up with unique ideas. So, Ed, how can people get a hold of you?
If they want to email me, they can email me at edmcbeth@gmail.com.
And that's MCBETH.
Correct.
And you can see that on your video there, your picture. So you can email Ed. You know what, you guys, if you love this episode, I'm going to call it, this interview, this video, and you want to hear more about how you can be creative, more tips, more hacks, techniques, put it in the comments, because this is just one method. And I love this idea, right? Because there are so many different ways that we can be unique and implement creative thinking in our world. So thank you so much for being here, everybody. Ed, do you have any final thoughts?
Yes. What if I was to show you how to use this technique to replace brainstorming? And I'm telling you, it's 100 times better than brainstorming.
Maybe that's a masterclass.
Maybe.
Maybe. Or a course. Put it in the comments, guys, if you are interested in this stuff. Ed, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day. It's beautiful here. I'm going to the beach this afternoon.
One last word.
Okay.
That was easy.
That was easy. Push the easy button. Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Ed. We will talk to you soon. Bye.